because as you can see, that's exactly what they're going to do. Let's give Taj a big round of applause, and that will hopefully encourage Cedar. There we go. Now, yes, this is a very cute behaviour, but it actually is a very practical behaviour. There's a couple of things to remember about tigers. Firstly, they're solitary. In the wild, they don't live in groups like lions do. They hunt by themselves, they live by themselves once they reach maturity. So one of the main ways that a tiger communicates with other tigers is through scent marking. Now that scent marking is often left behind in out-of-reach places, like on the trunk of a tree or on the underside of the overhanging foliage. Sitting like this will give a tiger access to those out-of-reach scent marks, and as a result of that, be able to communicate. So most of the communication between tigers is done through scent rather than through sight. Now the other reason that they would actually sit up like this is because it gives them a good height advantage. You'll see as they sit like this, if they're peering through long tall grass and they've lost sight of their prey, they're going to be able to look over the top of that grass without giving away their own position. And that's also where it's used. But as it is a good height advantage, take a look at this next behaviour. It's a true height advantage. You'll see the tigers stretching right up on the guy's shoulders. Now typically this is what they do up against the trunk of a tree. So dragging their claws down the tree is another way of marking territory. Dragging their claws leaves behind a visible scar. They've actually got small scent glands between their toes. So they're depositing minute particles of scent when they drag their claws down the trees, and your own cats do this as well. But what you've also probably noticed with your own cats is they'll rub their face against things when they're holding onto it. These guys do the same thing. It's because they do have those sensory glands around the cheeks in their face as well. Now we do get a little bit of free acupuncture from time to time when we do this behaviour. It's not always welcome, so a little bit of a tap on the paw is sometimes necessary to encourage the tigers to keep their claws to themselves. But they're pretty good most of the time. And I'm sure it does give you the illusion also, particularly Keith over here, he's pretty tough. He's holding up a couple 100 kilos of tiger there, and he'd love you to think that. But of course it is an illusion. The tigers are the tough ones. This next behaviour is a true, real, I guess a show of strength. Have a look at Taj there. Let's give him a big round of applause, guys. This takes a lot of effort. Probably saw him right at the start. He was right up on his toes. This is a fight stance or a hind leg stance. We'll hopefully see Cedar do it in a moment. But you can see what it's doing. It's freeing up those big front feet. Now in a fight situation, tigers will go toe to toe. They'll try and knock their opponent down off balance. And they do that by standing up on their back legs. You see, the reality is these two tigers don't like each other. I mentioned that they're solitary. In the wild, these two guys wouldn't have seen each other for years. And if they did, they'd probably have a massive fight. So that's why we've got an extra set of eyes over here. You can see Pete working pretty hard over there, just making sure that Taj is not going to beat up on Cedar. But really, that's what he's doing, is just making sure we keep an extra set of eyes, particularly on Taj, because he's the one that's going to be the instigator of aggression. There we go, finally got there with Cedar. You can see her right up on her toes there. So of course, they're not going to be trying to stand in this position for too long. Basically, it's a matter of trying to knock their opponent down onto the ground off balance as quick as possible. Because once they've knocked their opponent down onto the ground, the tiger that's done that can then drop down onto their opponent and go for those bites around the throat, the back of the neck. The crippling bites like around the elbows, the middle of the back and the shoulder blades. And we have seen plenty of that out here over the past 10, 15 years. Luckily, we haven't had any big fights for ages. And of course,